Israel Briefers, I love joining you guys every Monday to Thursday where we take a look at those top stories making the headlines right here in Israel. We do it because A, the mainstream media are not going to bring you any updates and certainly are going to twist and manipulate what's happening here in Israel, and B, because, hey, I just love your company. So if you are joining us for the first time, I am Rolene Marks. Welcome to the Israel Brief, brought to you in partnership with these guys, Lay of the Land. And as I just mentioned, we take a look at the top stories making headlines in Israel. We do it every Monday to Thursday. Now it is day 578 since the 7th of October. And a reminder to everybody out there, because I see that the hostage situation, the hostage crisis is getting less and less and less mainstream coverage. We want to keep it in the public conscience. We still have 59 hostages in the absolute hell of Gaza. We still believe 24 of them to be alive. We want them home so that they can start the very long rehabilitation process. We want the 35 deceased or slain hostages to be returned to Israel, to be laid to rest with a dignified burial, so that their families have a place to weep and their souls can rest. Meanwhile, let's take a look at today's top stories. And the question everybody is asking is Israel about to launch Operation Gideon's Chariot? Now, media reports are reporting that Israel wants to reoccupy Gaza, that this is the plan. However, let's break down the facts as we know it. So what we do know is that Israel has threatened Hamas that if they do not accept a ceasefire and hostage deal by the end of next week, Israel will launch an expanded military campaign called Operation Gideon's Chariot. Now, what some press are reporting is that what this would entail is clearing the strip of Hamas, moving civilians to a central humanitarian zone and reoccupying the strip until Hamas is eradicated. Now, what is interesting is we've heard quite a lot of conflicts of language coming from the IDF chief and generals and Israeli politicians. Now, a former IDF spokesperson speaking on international media this morning said that from his knowledge and speaking to the IDF, there have been no military commands to reoccupy the strip. And language is important. We've also heard concern from hostage families as well as the IDF and the IDF chief himself, who has said that our priority remains the hostages, and there is concern that a broadened military campaign could endanger the hostages. Meanwhile, Hamas has said that hostage negotiations are irrelevant. He says while there is still murder and starvation in the Gaza Strip. However, last night, President Trump, speaking to a press conference, addressing this issue of humanitarian aid, which Israel will be restarting soon. President Trump said, "We are trying to get aid into the Gaza Strip. Hamas make it impossible." Now, this is what we've heard from Palestinians in Gaza. We've heard from aid agencies on the ground, and we've heard from IDF saying that Hamas are looting and stealing the aid and either reselling it at exorbitant prices or they are keeping it for themselves. We can't forget the testimony of former hostage Eli Sharabi to the UN Security Council, who said that hostages starved in captivity while Hamas terrorists walked in and out of the tunnels with boxes and boxes of humanitarian aid. Let's take a look at our next big story. And just minutes ago, the IDF Arabic spokesperson issued a warning to anybody in the vicinity of Sana'a Airport in Yemen to evacuate immediately. Now, this is a very rare pre-warning, And last night, the IDF, or rather the Israeli Air Force, 20 fighter jets in partnership with the American Air Force struck Houthi targets across Yemen, which included Hodeidah port as well as a concrete factory in Bajir. Now, if you recall, just 2 days ago, a ballistic missile fired by the Houthis, an Iranian-sponsored terror proxy, towards Israel, impacted in the vicinity of Israel's Ben Gurion airport, which is very close to where I live. And as I told you yesterday, I heard an almighty bang, and the building I was in shook. And thank goodness nobody was killed, but 8 people were hurt, and Israel threatened to attack 7-fold in response. Now, as expected, Iran has condemned these attacks, which incidentally they sponsor, has condemned Israel and America's attacks on Houthi targets, and accused Israel of dragging America into a war. And the Houthi spokesperson has said that they will continue to fire ballistic missiles in order to create a blockade of Israel's airports. The Henry Jackson Society, a brilliant think tank, today released a research paper that exposes Hamas's human shield strategy. Now, if you Google the Henry Jackson Society, all their research papers are there, and I really advise everybody reads them, because we have been speaking not just for the last now nearly 19 months, tomorrow will be 19 months, but for years, that Hamas use their civilian population as human shields. They fire rockets and missiles from within civilian infrastructure. They fight from behind civilians. They do not allow their civilians to evacuate to the humanitarian zones. They fire on civilians when they do that. And they hijack the aid that their civilians desperately need. This is a war crime. Firing from one civilian population on another civilian population is a war crime, and the best way to deal with these issues is to make sure that you are armed with the facts. So if you Google Henry Jackson Society, you can even Google Henry Jackson Society report on Hamas human shield strategy, and all the facts are there. And finally, because we like to end with some good news, the documentary Surviving October the 7th, We Will Dance Again, has won an International Emmy Award for the most impactful film for society. This is phenomenal news, especially since we face a barrage of October the 7th atrocity denial. The documentary is also nominated for 2 further Emmy Awards, one for Outstanding Current Affairs Documentary and the other for Outstanding Editing. So those are your top story. Let's take a look at the audience question, and it comes from Isaac in Israel, who says, Raleen, why does the army publicize when missiles strike? So that's a very important question, because we are often told not to show where missiles have landed. But I think the reason why it's publicized that we did have this missile that impacted is, first of all, because there's no denying eyewitness and eyewitness reports, but also because it is in the interest of Israel's civilian population to know this. It is in the interest of the international community to understand that we are still being attacked on multiple fronts. Israel still has been fighting a war on no less than 7 fronts over the last now 19 months. And the world needs to know, because firing on our infrastructure is a war crime. So I hope that answers your question, Isaac. And all that remains for me today, guys, is for me to wish you a wonderful rest of your day. Remind you to check out our website and our social media at www.layoftheland.online. our YouTube channel right here at the Israel Brief. Remember, guys, if you like our content, please hit that subscribe button and share as much as possible, because the more of you who subscribe, the more of you who watch this on YouTube, the more it gets the algorithm out to people who really need to hear the facts on the ground. Our Facebook page is at Lottel's site. Our Instagram is Rolene_Marks. Our LinkedIn is at Rolene Marks. And we're on X at teeth back in, Lay of the Land 5. So guys, God bless you from me here in central Israel to you all out there from Trinidad and Tobago to Nairobi to Namibia, all the way up to the highlands of Scotland and Northern Ireland. God bless, and I will see you again tomorrow. Take care. Bye for now.